So I want to hear what your thoughts are on that. If a parent was to ask you, hey, Mr. Sean, how do I raise my child to be successful like you?
One, fear that I had carried with me through much of my life literally went away.
Wow.
It literally was like a miraculous healing. And the other thing was I literally got on both knees in my office because the Lord had saved us. And I was very, very blessed with that early on at the bank. My right-hand guy, we don't always agree, but his name is Greg, and Greg is everything that I am not, and vice versa. If Greg ran the bank, we would still be $72 million. You just have to do it in a voluntary way. You can't force it on anybody. And if you're going to allow a Christian Bible study, for example, then if one of your Muslim employees wants to do a study around the Quran, they have to be able to do the same thing. Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode on Sister Shoes Behind the Build. And today I am truly honored to host Sean Kouplen, a good friend of mine, a mentor. Sean is the president and CEO of Regent Bank and a handful other industries and ventures that he will share throughout the podcast. And just someone that's really shaped me and more so my faith in business. I remember when I was first invited to Faith in Business, I had the chance to share about my faith. And there's probably over 350 people in the audience. And having all these business owners come and support me, it just made me so much more confident in my faith and kind of not only professing it, but showcasing it in my day-to-day walk with God in work. So we're going to hit the ground running. I want to know, parents always ask me, and I have my generic answer. I want to hear your answer. There's a lot of parents today that are really worried about their children, worried that if they put them into private or public school or homeschool and college, and just sharing for context, my personal belief. I truly believe if there's a good mom, dad, or mom and dad, whether it's private, public, college, university, whatever journey God has laid out for you, if you have those strong leaders, you'll come out to be successful. I don't think there's a one size fits all. So I want to hear what your thoughts are on that. If a parent was to ask you, hey, Mr. Sean, how do I raise my child to be successful like you? What is the advice that you would give?
I 1000% agree with you, first of all. I went to public school. I grew up on a farm. I was in a very poor community and have done okay. I don't think it's about public versus my kids. I started in public school, ended up in private school, really more for the Christian influence than anything. But, how are they going to turn out? Well, we don't know. Well, we will see. I do think, and I've been so excited to be on this podcast because I'm such a big fan of yours. And I do think that we're similar in that I had a little bit of both growing up. Okay, I had the driver father who was, never happy with anything. No matter what you did, it wasn't good enough. Okay. And I think that alone could have been a problem. And then I had the nurturing mother who was my biggest fan and encourager and, always had my back. And those two together seemed to be just kind of the perfect, the perfect symmetry, because I got the drive and the desire to succeed and be a leader and do something great from my father. But I had kind of this belief in myself, I think, from my mother. And so I would say that's what's most important. Now, I tend to err as a parent more on the side of, I want to be your best friend, and I don't know that that's what's good. My wife's really more of the driver in our relationship, but hopefully our kids are getting both as well. So
that's inspiring. What is one thing that you would never do as a parent that you think would have a very negative impact on a child's life?
I growing up, I grew up on a farm, and it was a multi-generational farm. So you basically had my grandfather had started it. He was an immigrant. He had nothing. Nobody outworked him. But he had a crazy temper. And was super volatile. He was pretty rough on my dad. My dad and I are best friends today, but my dad was pretty rough on me growing up. And again, had I not had the influence from my mom, I think that could have been really tough, because when you kind of when you grow up under this "you're never good enough," mold, that I carried that through a lot of my life. I mean, you know my story, and I just, for much of my life, I lived in fear and scarcity, and I think it was because I just, no matter what I did, was never good enough, never good enough, never good enough. It really wasn't until my faith grew and my connection with our Heavenly Father grew that I realized, and I am good enough. I am good enough because of that, because He created me this way. That's been the game changer. So I would just tell parents out there that it's good to push your kids. I don't think it's good to live vicariously through your kids. And, just because you weren't a great athlete, over pushing your kids to make them a great athlete. I don't think that's healthy. Your kids need to know that you love them just the way that they are. I think that's very, very important.
You're like sharing my life story. Our father was the same way. I was a really strong push. And I loved how my mother, she kind of would see what each person's called to and really help nurture us to pursue our calling and not so much a mold. I cover it in my book, and I say, don't make your athletic children into doctors, and don't make your doctors into football players.
Amen.
Has a certain calling. Help them nurture. Find that calling.
Totally agree.
Even if that calling changes, I remember in 5th grade, I wanted to be a firefighter. My parents got me fire trucks, and they took me on tours of fire homes, and I got to experience that. And I'm like, oh wait, maybe I don't want to be a firefighter. And I wanted to be a pilot, and they would take me to airplane museums. And whenever we'd fly on a flight, they'd let me go into the co-pilot, and I noticed that it would build up, and it would really build this confidence in I can achieve and be whoever I want to be, versus a one size fits all and push into one mold.
For sure. If you watch, Powell, if you watch the Olympics, one of the things that I was sharing with my kids, if you look at these world-class athletes, okay, that are the best of the best, I am telling you, the one thing that you see over and over and over when they tell their story is that somebody believed in them. I mean, that's the name of the game. I think we need our kids to know that we believe in them, and figuring out that path. Yeah, it may take some time. I went through 5,000 majors. I couldn't figure out what I was going to do, and lucked into the industry I'm in today. Yeah. And so it will take some time, but just knowing that they believe in you, I think is super, super important.
I want to be featured on this one podcast. Podcast of a CEO. Steve is the host. They control the O2 levels in the room throughout the podcast.
Wow.
Yeah, they said all impacts you.
Oh,
you're going to love this next one.
Okay.
I think you probably get asked as much as I do, if not more, between your speaking engagements and faith and business. College. There's this kind of mixed view of college nowadays. Some are saying it's a waste of time. It probably doesn't help that, some pretty big politicians saying that college is a waste nowadays too. And on the caveat, I think it's crucial, personally, if not for the knowledge that you get, for the discipline. When I moved out at 18 and had to get my own apartment and start learning how to do my own laundry and making it to class on time. So I always tell my wife, I don't care if our children go for arts or AI. It's to build that fundamental discipline. I mean, you can always go to the military. That's a good avenue as well. So what are your thoughts on college nowadays?
Yeah, so I have a very unique kind of viewpoint on this, because I spent 3 years as Secretary of Commerce and Workforce Development within our state. Okay, so I kind of saw the whole gamut here. And in Oklahoma, for example, they have a they've got obviously, the university system, and then you've got community colleges, and then you've got like the VOTEC system, where you go to learn a trade or learn to weld or to do HVAC or, all kinds of different things. What I believe is that it really depends on the kid. It really, when you look, I really studied workforce programs all over the country. And by me, I really mean my staff. And I looked at the results of what they came up with. And what you found is that in a lot of European countries, the kids will pretty early in life kind of figure out which way they want to go. And they will immediately start at work at the age of 14, 15, 16, trying out jobs, which I love. For me, I'm just like you. For me, college was about growing up. It was about meeting a lot of people. It was learning to learn. As an employer, as you know, what you're really looking for is, can the person learn? Yes. It's really not, I thought when you graduated from college, I needed to know everything about my field that I was going into. Well, nobody's expecting that. Right. You just have to know, A, will they stick to it? Will they give up? And can they learn? And those are the two things. I went on and got MBA. My daughter's doing the same thing. She is an example of, she is graduating this semester with a strategic marketing degree, and we are still trying to figure out what you do with that degree. She did very well, has a great resume. We're not exactly sure where the job market is for strategic marketers, So, ours is going to be a little bit more nebulous. My middle daughter is engineering, so she loves to build stuff. So she is architectural engineering all day long. Probably better go to college for that. We don't want this building falling down on us, because it was incorrectly designed or built. And my son just wants to play sports. And so, I think it just really depends. I do think removing the stigma of it's either college or fail is important. But I think it's just looking at the kid and going, man, do you want to work out here building these amazing vehicles that we just looked in your, warehouse, in your building? If that's the case, you probably ought to go the Botech route, But if you want to own the company and you want to understand finance and marketing and the whole 9 yards, you probably ought to go on through and at least get your bachelor's and probably get an MBA, So I think it just depends on what and I get a little concerned when people like us who are entrepreneurs will say there is no value in college, because there's the Bill Gateses and the Elon Musks and the people that can drop out early and make $1 gazillion, but there's also a whole lot of people that drop out early and can't find a job. Yeah. So if you're going to be in our shoes one day, I would definitely go to college.
Yeah, I agree. So good. Faith in business. I am so inspired by how strong you are in your faith in your work life, whether it's, the business ventures or the bank itself. Share a little bit about faith in business, how it started and the impacts it's had.
Oh, thank you. You got to give a little bit of background to kind of understand where we got to where we are today. So we had the opportunity to buy Regent Bank in 2008. Okay. I was 34 years old, was able to go out and raise a bunch of money, bought this little bitty bank in Oklahoma. And very long story short, the mortgage crisis hits about 6 months later. We should have gone under in the spring of 2009. And we really had a miracle from the Lord that kept us in business.
Wow.
And when we did, I literally just told this story this morning, but when we did, two things happened in my life. One, fear that I had carried with me through much of my life literally went away.
Wow. So good.
It literally was like a miraculous healing. And the other thing was, I literally got on both knees in my office because the Lord had saved us. And I just said, I am turning this company over to you. This is your company. So every day I committed to get up in the morning, and it's at 5 o'clock in the morning, to get up in the morning and God and I have a staff meeting. And I basically just say, please tell me what to do today. Please, what do I need to do today? And what has come from that has been, some days it will be something that's fairly innocuous. He'll put somebody on my mind or my heart that I need to reach out to and call. Or maybe I'll get a business idea or something like that. But some days it will be very radical, like starting a daily devotional that I thought was illegal, but it's not. Starting a prayer team, starting the Faith in Business event that you spoke for us at, starting a Faith at Work movement, which we call 94X. I mean, all of these things were direct downloads from the Lord. So now people will, banks, a couple billion in assets, the companies have done well, the Faith in Business movement, Faith at Work movement has exploded, and so now, everybody wants to know, well, what's the secret? Well, there really is no this secret. I mean, the secret is just ask and obey. I mean, it really is that simple. And what you find is that things that feel so radical, okay, on the front end that just are terrifying. Like I distinctly remember the day that I stood up in our employee meeting and said, guys, tomorrow I want to invite you to a voluntary daily devotional. It's going to be from 8:15 to 8:30. Here's how you call in, blah, blah, blah. I almost hyperventilated. Like I couldn't even say the words. I was so scared. It's normal now. It's not that big of a deal, or the first Faith in Business. Is anybody going to show up? I mean, is this going to be a big flop? Or, you've written a book, as have I. Is anybody going to read it? I mean, all these things are so scary. And then when you get through them, there is it's not scary at all. So it's just evolved over time. It's a very, very important part of our culture. It gives our employees a greater purpose to their work, and it is now very much a central part of my life.
Okay. Yeah, and it's had a big impact on my life. I don't know if I've shared the full scope of it yet or not with you, but I recently got invited to speak at the Christian Broadcast Network in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
And we recorded it was probably like an hour and a half, 2-hour session there. And I said, similar to what you said, it was scary first, but for me, I wasn't the pioneer in it. I'm like, we have these local in the Midwest banks, and I said Regent Bank and Mercy Hospital Systems, and they start meetings with prayers and they have devotionals. For me, it wasn't like I'm some new radical Christian trying to push religion into work. I said, first, I saw them do it and them do it very well. I saw how blessed they were in doing it. And so it gave me this confidence. And the more I speak up about it, the more I manifest my faith in my work day to day. Not only does it give me this unreal peace in any storm, and the storms, they do come, especially in business, the impact it's had on lives, the lives of the employees, the customers, that alone makes it worth every moment. Okay, let's keep building on that. Well, before we transition, 94X, I've heard the story so many times. I love it. Can you share the 94X story?
Yeah. So here's kind of what happened. So we have this active culture going on at the bank. Okay. And it's magical. There's just really no other way to say it. It just is so life-changing and life-giving. So we're rolling along. I'm doing the Commerce Secretary deal for the governor. I told him I would do 2 years. He drug it out to 3. I told him on the 3rd anniversary, I'm out. Whether you find somebody or not, I'm resigning. It's enough. I was doing 2 jobs at the same time. So when I ended that role, I really felt the Lord calling me into just a new chapter. Like I could just feel it. Like I knew I wasn't supposed to leave the bank. There was going to be a different focus in my life. So I'm praying it through, and I just feel that, hey, what you have at the bank is so amazing. You need to teach people how to do that. Okay. So I'm on a plane flight going from Tulsa to Dallas. It's only like a 45-minute flight. Okay. And I'm sitting with a buddy of mine. It's Southwest Airlines. So we sat by each other and we're sitting there talking. I was telling him about this, and he's like, oh my gosh, Sean. He said, you need to do this, I'll support you. And I'm like, well, I don't even know what this is. And so as we take off, I just close my eyes and I'm like, Lord, please just show me what you want me to do. Please show me, because I'm not real sure the next step I'm supposed to take here. And I saw this like a black chalkboard and it had two numbers, one over the other one. And the top number was 160 over 1.7. And I knew exactly what the numbers were. I knew 160 was the number of hours that our employees work during a month for us, 40 hours a week, 4 weeks out of the month. 1.7 is a number of hours per month that the average person goes to church. And what the Lord showed me was, hey, Sean, the reason that I've given you this level of influence I could really care less about your money and your stock price and your blah, 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 all that stuff. I gave you these leadership opportunities so that you would bring me in. And your employees are with you 94 times more than they go into a church if they go to church at all. So that's where 94X came from. So we thought 94X was just going to be a book. We'll write. I have a buddy that I co-author stuff with. And so that we'll just write it, promote it out, and just let people know, hey, what we have learned is it is legal to bring your faith into your business. You just have to do it in a voluntary way. You can't force it on anybody. And if you're going to allow a Christian Bible study, for example, then if one of your Muslim employees wants to do a study around the Quran, they have to be able to do the same thing, okay? Which is great with us. We're not trying to be exclusive. We just want the right to share our faith within our workplace. So, we get the book out there, and then pretty quick, people want coaching, and they want an online community, and then they want chapters, and then they want it. So it has just grown into this enormous, and it's called 94X. The website's 94xmovement.org. We just decided about 3 weeks ago that membership is free. Wow. So if anybody wants to join us, we've been very blessed by financial support. And so the Lord really called us to give it away. So if anybody wants to join a community of like-minded leaders, just go to 94xmovement.org. There's no upsell. There's no catch. They just have access to everything that we offer totally free.
That's amazing. I know it's been a big blessing to our company, and I really hope our listeners take us up on it, especially the younger generation that's so on fire, but it's unreal the influence of peer pressure and the influence of just the uncertainty, when no one else does it, when dad didn't do it in the coal mine era and mom didn't do it in the schoolyard, and you're the first one, it seems like that first step it's really scary. And so having this foundation, having mentors to lean on is amazing. So thank you for what you do there.
Absolutely.
Okay. So now I want to transition to building a business. It's probably one of the most complex questions that people ask me is how I started. And it's looking back, I think the only thing that comes to mind, I don't know if I could do it again. To start with it, to go through the trenches again.
Yeah, your story.
I would probably just come and work for you. And so when someone asks me for advice, I always say, are you sure this is what you want? I'm like, if I can advise you to anything, is go be someone's number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. Be that person for someone else, and
let them worry about the paycheck.
Exactly. And you'll still have ultra success. Most of our customers, I marvel, they were someone's number 2 or 3, and they made a lot more money than number 1 day. So that's typically where I start. It's like, why do you want to take on such large amounts of pain and suffering for an extended amount of time? Well, let's say someone really does. What is the advice you would give them in today, taking that first step of starting their own business? And what are some industries that you see today are ones that are worth pursuing?
Well, you need to answer this question first of all. So I don't hold a candle to you in terms of this world. But having built and owned a lot of companies and banked a lot of companies, there are definitely some things that I see commonalities in terms of who's successful and who's not. First and foremost, and again, I just shared this with a young lady this morning. Yeah. It's always better to build your business while you have some income coming in and have a job. So one of the things that I always recommend is, get a stable job and then make it a side hustle initially, right? And then over time, it can become your real hustle, but man, it takes a lot of guts to jump out there and it be your only source of income for your family. Two, you can never have too much capital. I just see this over and over. It's particularly difficult in a high growth company to have enough capital, but make sure you're well capitalized. Number three, man, you've got to really love what you're doing. Yeah. To do it just to be a business owner because you're going to have some perceived flexibility or power or, status, that ain't a good reason. Right. That falls away pretty quick, when you're at home in a fetal position in the middle of the living room floor, which we both have been in very real time. There wasn't anybody listening to my podcast in 09 and 10. I can promise you that everybody was hitting fast forward or delete. So do it because you love it. And then the last thing I would say is, which you've done very well, is find teammates as you get larger and you're hiring in. Be sure and hire in people that complement you. So all of us are genius at something. We all have something. Ours is very similar, very relational, creative. We're both the strategy, visionary people. Well, then we better have some people that dot the I's and cross the T's and are skeptical and naysayers and, nervous about everything. You better have that person to offset us. I was very, very blessed with that early on at the bank. My right-hand guy, we don't always agree, but his name is Greg, and Greg is everything that I am not, and vice versa. If Greg ran the bank, we would still be $72 million in assets in one location. Very clean. Yeah. We'd be very clean, but we would make no money. If I ran the bank, we would have been bankrupt 4 times and made every bad loan known to mankind. Yeah. And somehow between the two of us, we've grown 30x and are profitable. And so it's a combination. So those would be my thoughts. But I'm like you, man. I would pray long and hard, look in the mirror, make sure that this is really a journey that you want to go on, because it is not for everybody. Yeah. That is for sure.
I've started to make observations for my short journey, and I've come to the conclusion that it takes 5 years to do something great. So give yourself 10. And if you're not willing to do it for 10 years, no paycheck, 10 years of just grinding, then don't pursue it. Whether you're looking to invest in a good real estate deal or any industry today, honestly, I believe you can be successful in any industry. I'd like to highlight, just pick up your phone and Google any local service, automotive service, and just try to get yourself a service appointment. Try to get someone on the phone to take care of you. You'll notice how subpar quality that is. For me, I stumbled into the RV industry. I realized not only the quality, but the service just isn't there. I couldn't get anyone on the phone to help me. One time when I sent my wife to an RV service and parts center to get some parts for RV, they were so hard on her, and she left there crying. And they, in short, told her, "You don't know what you're doing. Tell your husband to come here himself and figure it out." Wow. And she just took it really personal. And I'm like, find that in any niche, any industry, and just go above and beyond.
I agree. I agree.
Basic Bible principle. Go the extra mile and you'll find that success.
I didn't answer your question around industries, but I would say the same thing. I would, obviously, AI is very hot. Everybody's going toward AI, today. But I agree with you. Good old fashioned, our best investments are in service businesses, particularly the trades, and trades which are very, very long apprenticeship, to get certified. Yeah. Those are beautiful businesses. I mean, they're low capital, they're huge barriers to entry, not very many people want to work anymore. And so, I mean, I totally would go that route if it were me.
They say the first billion is the hardest, and then it gets easier. You made a post on LinkedIn that made me believe that. You guys recently crossed the threshold into 2 billion. Expand on that. What was that moment like? And is the saying true that the first one is the hardest and the second one kind of comes organically?
Straight up, it's true. I'll just be honest. It is 1,000% true.
Oh, so good.
So it took us 14 years to grow from 72 million to $1 billion. And then it took us 3 years to go from $1 billion to 2.
Wow.
And a lot of things factor into that. Okay. One is you're more profitable.
Yeah.
So you can hire greater talent, which propels you, to that next level. In the banking industry, it also helps as you get larger, you have a larger lending limit, so you can do bigger deals. And so that helps you grow faster. The other beautiful part about getting a little bit bigger is that everybody can specialize. So back in the day, and back in the day, we're all wearing 10 hats, and 8 of my hats I'm really terrible at, but I don't have any choice. Somebody's got to do it, right? And so now we can kind of wear the hats that we are best at and specialize. So it'll be interesting to see, a lot of people have asked me, what's going to happen now? Are you going to be, are you going to get to 3 billion this year? It is possible. I mean, it's actually possible. So I don't know if it's just going to keep, lessening. There are, and you're finding this too, there are downsides to getting bigger. There is bureaucracy that is just built into a large organization, and I fight it with all my might, but part of it's there for a reason, and part of it's necessary. In our industry, regulation goes up as you get bigger, so you got to put a lot more resources behind that. So it's definitely complexity increases as you get bigger, but man, would I trade it and go back to the little days? Not in 1 second. I would never go back to those early days, those days where, you're about 100 employees, multiple people are wearing many hats, you're growing rapidly. That's toughest. It's the toughest place to be. And when you get to the other side, life's a lot better. Life's a lot better.
Yeah, it definitely helps having people that support you. Your friends that came, I shared with them that I wanted 2x this year. Their instant reaction was like, why not 10x? With a straight face. Like, oh, wow. Let me get back to you.
Well, and I would ask them if they've done it. I'd say, have you 10x? Maybe not.
Yeah, but it's interesting how that works. I think if you want to break it down, I think you just get the resources, the connection, the influence. I remember early on, if I needed something done, even on the government side, it was months and months of back and forth. Today, I just call the governor, and it's like, boom, job done, one day. Yes, her ass. And that kind of goes with suppliers and vendors. I remember early on trying to order some parts, trying to get a hold of a vendor. I felt like I was just cold calling in a phone book. Today, you got the cell phone number, president, CEO.
Yeah.
And so as those resources multiply, you're able to move a lot quicker and get results quicker.
Correct.
You don't get there overnight. Your journey sounds like 15 years now.
Yeah, 18, almost 18 years now with this company. And what's so crazy, and I know you would agree with this, for those budding entrepreneurs out there, you're doing the same job. Yeah. It's not like we're just working a day at a time, every day. And then it's almost like you look up and your influence is greater. Your connections are greater. Your knowledge is greater. Your resources are greater. All of these things just kind of happen. It's not, you're just head down. You're just grinding, And then one day you're like, man, that's a little bit easier. Okay, we can make payroll now, okay, this we're progressing, but you just got to stay after it to get it. Like you said, man, I like your 10-year number. There is no shortcut, unfortunately.
Yeah, even today with the time and age and AI and everything, it helps accelerate it. But something people don't take into account, it's accelerating the entire world.
Right.
So the whole world is spinning faster. That means if you want to grow faster, you have to outspin the standard norm.
That's true.
It's not like
that's true. It's true. Yeah.
And you have a competitor edge.
Yeah.
I know everyone's using AI. So you have to be faster than AI. If you want to grow in 10 years, do it in 5 years, you're going to be twice as fast as AI. You're not twice as fast as Google or twice as fast as the old man with the phone book. You have to be twice as fast as AI because that's the new norm. And I think
It's a new floor. Yeah. Well, and what do you agree? AI is amazing, no doubt, but it isn't relationships
exactly.
either. AI can't. Now, it can help you, it can coach you up on building relationships. It can help you target relationships. It can do all those things. But the good old-fashioned eyeball to eyeball, returning somebody's call, returning their text, helping when you can. I mean, you got to do that. There's no shortcut for that.
I think Geico learned that the hard way when they first tried to go to AI and automated phone calls and answers. And Geico's one of the few insurance companies today. And I don't have my insurance there, so I'm not promoting them or anything, just using them as a case study. To this day, I think it's within 30 seconds, you get someone on the phone. I know here we've tried outsourcing customer support. We've tried automated. We've tried AI. I mean, it sounds alike. We even joked around. We did Denzel Washington voice. It literally sounds like you're talking to Mr. Washington himself. First question they ask is this AI? And you can't lie. So it says yes. Beep.
Interesting.
So maybe the next Gen Alpha will want to talk to an AI, but I know two things AI won't replace, and that's the service aspect of business and the low volume thing. So we're low volume manufacturing, plumbing, electrical, those industries, and it's still really crucial to have that relationship based business practice. Another thing that inspires me about you, and I've actually learned this from you as well. I used to be really bad at responding to people, and I had 100 excuses for it, and it frustrated people. And I meet you, and I mean, day or night, you instant response. And so I was flattered for a little bit. I thought it was just me, and that I'd meet her and him and a couple other mutual friends and a couple of your employees, even at a local branch here in Springfield. And like, no, Sean instantly responds. First, how do you keep up with them? And secondly, what's your philosophy behind it?
Well, I think you're better than me now. So we may have switched places. Yeah, you're great now. I'm like, I
always like that.
I owe him a response. No, number one, most of them are super fast, and so I do tend to function where if I have free time, if I'm at a red light or maybe if I'm driving, whatever, my car is largely self-driving, so I'm voice texting. I do think it's important to respond to people. I will say though, there is a hierarchy in which I do respond. Okay. And family's obviously first, my employees are next, and then my closest friends, customers are next. So not everybody gets that quick of a response. The other thing that I did have to learn early, and I think this is very important for your viewers to know, is when I don't respond is at night. And the reason is I learned very early that if I was going to stay married, I had to set some boundaries, okay? Yes. And so I have this 6:30 rule. So my rule is I'm home by 6:30, and at 6:30 the phone is turned off, plugged in, put away. Wow, for the rest of the night.
It's amazing.
So that I can focus on the kids, focus on Angela, hear how their days are going without being so distracted. Now, later on, we might grab the laptops and we're both in the living room and watching TV and, doing our thing. She's an exec with her company too. And that's okay if we're both doing it. But I think it's very important to have boundaries too. Your customers, in my experience, will actually admire that. I'm pretty big on the weekends too. I try to not do a whole lot of work on the weekends. I need to rest up mentally, and B, I want to focus on my family. So I think it's very, very important to set boundaries. I do.
Something else that really shaped the way I do business that I learned large part from you was the importance of a team and team building. You have a lot of ventures. You have a lot of teams. What is your secret sauce in recruiting strong team players that will go with you the long run, the 10 to 15 years, and not, today I think turnover is 9 months on average. I stopped looking at resumes. I mean, it's just nauseating. You look and someone's 5 years out of college and there's 17 job roles deep and it's a 4-page resume.
Yeah.
Where do you find them? How do you find them? And how do you retain them?
Yeah, your hope is, so I'll kind of talk about the bank and then I'll kind of talk about the other ventures. At the bank, much of ours are referrals. We've reached a point to where the vast majority of it's really a big joke about the fact that, I am fairly popular except in the banking industry. And it's primarily because, and it's not personal to anybody out there, okay? If you're a bank CEO, I'm not coming after you. What will happen is we'll hire one person from an institution and they come over and they're like, man, this is so refreshing. There's no backbiting. Nobody's stabbing each other in the back. Like they're honest, they're transparent. They tell us what's going on, And so then they go back and tell their friends and then they all come over and then that CEO doesn't like me very much. And then it happens at this bank. And then, so that's a big way. If we don't know somebody that is in the role, of course, I do look at longevity within positions to make sure they're not just job hoppers. I want them to really buy into our core purpose, to look at our purpose is to show God's love to our employees, clients, and community. So I want somebody that wants to change lives. If I'm sensing it's all about me, I'm out. If the whole conversation is let me name drop and brag on me, I'm out. Yeah. So, you're looking for somebody that kind of meets your values and buys into your mission. On the a little bit of the secret sauce on the other ventures, and let's don't get too specific on all those, but on some of our other ventures, we buy existing companies, okay? Unlike some of my friends who build things from scratch, which is very hard, ladies and gentlemen, I would rather have somebody else do the pain, go through all the pain of that, get it built up, stabilized, and then we come in and buy. Well, when we buy, the seller has to help me find the replacement. It's part of the requirement. So they basically sign a 1-year employment agreement. And over the course of that year, they have to continue to run the company until they find a replacement that I agree to, and I do have final say. And then once we hire that replacement, they have to train them for 6 months or until that new CEO says they are ready. At the same time, I'm telling the CEO over here on the side, if you call me during the week, you're fired, okay? So once you take over this company, this is your company. You have to treat it like it's your money, your baby, and we've got auditing and all kinds of stuff built in to make sure, but essentially they cannot call me. So, and why would they? I don't know what I have no idea what they do, so I'm not going to be able to help them anyway, but that's kind of how we make it work.
Well, it's better than someone who's built the company on who to bring in to operate that company.
Correct.
I sometimes marvel when people hire, and nothing against recruiting firms, but they'll hire someone who's never done the job, never operated within a company within that industry to go and recruit someone who's a good fit. So we have an entire program here, and our best hires have been recruited by peers. And so who knows a better electrician than an electrician? Yeah. I don't have any job, or HR manager has no job in going and finding a great electrician. And then it has that exponential effect. When you take care of your employees, take care of your people, and they go and they recruit more and more. We actually have wait lists in a lot of our key roles of individuals wanting a particular role. So yeah, that's I definitely agree there. Okay. Let's then transition to another topic. Thanks. Financial management or financial literacy. I've been very poor, and I've been a little wealthy, a little blessed, and I got to say I love my wealthy problems a lot more than I like my poor man problems.
Amen.
But I noticed one thing. My wife and I were analyzing our lifestyle. When we were in college, we lived in a small little 1-bedroom apartment, about 750 square feet, no central heat, no central AC.
Wow.
Mice, squirrels. I mean, it was rough. We spent most of our time in the library. when we come home, sleep. And I mean, it was rough. I don't even know why we had it. I'm like, babe, we should have just lived in a car. Like, our car was next to the airport.
Wow. Wow.
It was rough. Fast forward to today, and I noticed there's only one kind of secret, or I wouldn't even call it a secret because it's not hidden from the world. Living less than what you make, living below your limits. And I was sitting there, and I'm like, wow, I feel like I unlocked another level in my brain because there's no point where it's enough. You're always buying more and more and more.
That's right.
But if you can unlock that portion in your brain to live below your means, you're wealthy, you're successful. Whether you're below the poverty threshold or above the poverty threshold, you always have money. And it's a story that my dad shared with me. He has 9 siblings, and everyone knew who to go to borrow money in a pinch. And it was the sibling that was the poorest of all the siblings. And I'm like, Dad, how does that work? And they're like, well, they were always really frugal and lived below their means. And regardless of how much he did or didn't make, you'd always set aside X amount of his income into savings. And we all knew that. So we'd always borrow money from him. So yes, living below your means, regardless what threshold of income you're at. What is your best financial advice for?
I agree with that. To put numbers to it, I've always taught and lived by 80-10-10.
80-10-10.
So of your take-home pay, okay, and understand take-home pay because I bounced multiple checks my first job because I didn't understand taxes and withholdings, and I was at a bank, no less, which was very embarrassing. So of your take-home pay, live on 80%, save 10%, and give 10%.
Wow. So tied.
Yeah, tied.
That's amazing.
So 80-10-10 has worked well. And man, it is so true. Any of our neighbors are going to say, well, Sean can't talk about this topic because of the number of Amazon boxes on his porch every night when he comes home. But we still live within that. And then you get to a point, thankfully, where you're not gonna live on 80%. Yeah. My wife, I will say, has been the greatest blessing from this perspective. She is hyper frugal. Okay. I always tell her, I'm like, babe, listen, I don't care that anybody thinks we are successful. I just don't want them to think we're bankrupt. The way you talk, we can't afford the chairs and we can't afford, like my family comes over and I'm like, my God. She's like, well, we haven't gotten any new chairs because we can't afford them. Like, we can afford them. You just don't want to pay for them, And so it's really funny. But because she is so frugal, we don't have a lot of these pressures. But the thing that, as you know, we were just talking about this before we went on air, that you have to watch is the keep up with the Joneses deal. Yes. I mean, I've seen this. I have executives making large 6-figure salaries, broker than they can be because they're running in a crowd of people that are making 7 figures and they're trying to live with them, and it's like, you just can't, you just can't do that. You'll be broke your whole life. That's what you want to do.
Well, now we're going to get specifics. So be ready for this.
All right.
This is, I didn't make up these numbers. These are actually questions that I get asked by our viewers all the time. And so typically the 16 to 20-year-olds, so on average 18, they somehow manage to always have $1,000, whether it's a collection of Christmas gifts or they flipped and sold a couple of pairs of tennis shoes, believe it or not, on the side. If you were 18 again and you had $1,000, how would you spend it?
I would, I'd go risky. Yeah. The younger you are, and the more time that you have to recover, in my opinion, the riskier you can go on your investment. So, now in terms of specific investment, that's all going to depend upon what people like, So
you would buy yourself some more shoes. You would actually invest.
Exactly. Because, guys, the kind of compounding impact of money is crazy. I mean, if you can just put $100 away, into just regular stock market, just an S&P index fund in the stock market, when you're young, you'll be multimillionaire by the time you graduate. $100 a month away, you will be a multimillionaire by the time you graduate. The problem is people spend all their money And then they get down here to where they're 50, 55, and they're like, oh man, now I better start saving. Well, I mean, it's almost too late. It's almost like you can't save enough that late in life. So yes, save early, take the more aggressive. Typically your 401k, for example, will have, you can go aggressive, moderate, conservative. Get in that aggressive bucket and just keep plugging a little bit away and forget about it. Don't go borrow against it. Don't go snag it because there's something that you want. Just pretend it's not even there, and you will thank me later, ladies and gentlemen.
My wife and I make investments. We try to make one big investment every year. I say it's a time machine. We lock it that's it. So this is a 10-year, this is a 20-year, it's 18-year. That's it. It's locked, forgotten.
Yeah.
If we have to go live with your parents again, we go live with your parents again. But it's locked in because that ROI on it is the mango seed example. I love mangoes, by the way. And so I learned more recently that a mango seed, when you plant it, takes 3 years just to become a little separate. It's a little.
Okay.
When do most people give up waiting for fruit from a fruit tree? Within the first few years. And then it takes another 5 years to grow on a tree. And typically by year 7 is when it brings fruit.
I didn't know that. I love mangoes.
And so it's like, people will wait 5 years and they see a tree or a company and they're like, why isn't it producing mangoes? Definitely another 2 years. That's where I would say 5 years to get a tree. Imagine if you wait 10 years, the fruit that it will bring. This is okay. Well, let's fast forward to the 21-year-olds. So
Okay.
today, surprisingly, 21-year-olds, they flip some cars, some homes, they're grinding, and they have $100,000. If you were 21 again, how would you spend or invest $100,000?
Okay, so I did not have $100,000 at 21. That would be awesome. Though. Okay, so you're 21. So I would go one of two routes. Okay, either number one, I would either believe in myself and invest in myself. I'm a big believer, and we talk about how hard it is to build a business, and I acknowledge that. I also am a big believer in betting on ourselves, though. So I would, if you've got a passion, I would start building that side hustle and put that $100,000 into inventory or supplies or something for yourself. If that's not how you are wired, so that's totally how we are wired. My wife is the exact opposite. She's the corporate, follow the rules. She can deal with the hierarchy, play the games, do all that stuff. She's great at that. If you're more like that, then I would kind of flip into that moderately aggressive fund. I really like investment real estate, So taking this, maybe split it out into 4 $25,000s, go get you 4 rent houses, let that be your equity, keep them rented up, and all of a sudden they're paid for in 15, 20 years, and you've got a great cash flowing asset. I think that would be a great way to go as well.
Well, let's fast forward it to now. They've worked 10 years in corporate world or running their own business, and they've stockpiled $1 million and they're 30 years old. And they're so tempted to go get that sports car. They're so tempted to go and fly that charter jet and do something lavishing. I mean, rightfully so. They work really hard. They're 30 now. Maybe it's 40. Maybe you got lucky with crypto and you're 27. But on average, around 30 years old today, I noticed that the entrepreneurs are really grinding. They stockpiled $1 million. You're 30 today and you have $1 million. How do you spend it?
Well, if you're an entrepreneur, you better keep that $1 million liquid where you can get there, because you never know when you're going to have a downturn. So I would make sure you have adequate reserves over here on the side. I do believe that it is important to celebrate. Okay, I think that's very important. I think a lot of people, my grandfather is a great example of a man who built a ranch from nothing, $8 in the middle of the Great Depression, to multi-thousands of acres and cattle and all paid for, and remarkable. Never took a vacation. His whole life, died without ever taking a singular vacation. So I don't subscribe to that. So I do think taking a portion of that and enjoying and having fun and taking your family or your wife somewhere great, I think you should reward yourself My experience is, and I understand I am in a business with very expensive vehicles that we build, but my personal experience is that about 2 weeks is as long as new things feel new. Like, we've into, $1 million house. After 2 weeks, it feels just like the old one. It's the same, I buy a nice car, self-driving, and in 2 weeks, it feels like the old car. I mean, it just doesn't. So I would just say, I wouldn't go blow it on, something wild. My buddy is a Lambo extraordinaire, and he's all big on this stuff. I'm just kind of like, it doesn't add that much. So I wouldn't do that. I would celebrate with some of it. And then, it all depends on what you want to achieve, in life. There's when you get to $1 million, you have a lot of opportunities in terms of investment. I'll tell you the one thing I wouldn't do. Listen to me, ladies and gentlemen, from somebody who's done this. I wouldn't buy a restaurant. Been there, done that. And I wouldn't lead a partnership of people in an investment as the managing partner, because it's all on you. And when things go bad, nobody's required to make a capital contribution, and it all falls on you. So don't start being, deal junkie and running out there and trying to do a bunch of deals. Stick to what you know. Boring is good, and at the end of the day, you'll retire with a big chunk of money, and you can live, you can live well. Yeah. So
I found why I love Springfield, Missouri. A lot of quiet wealth here. A lot of quiet wealth.
A lot.
And it's some of the most boring investments they make. And early on when I was starting my business, I just come back from the zoo. I know everything. I hit the ground running. I listen to, older white men and some woman telling me, oh, there's this, commercial warehousing. There's this piece of land. And I'm like, what? Like I can go, I'm reading these Twitter X 1,000x stories, and I'm like, that warehouse is going to take so many years.
Right.
I think completely differently now, and I'm so thankful to God for putting me in a community like this, because now I interpret dollars into square feet. I heard this good. That's good. Very successful landowner, 12 million acres is what him and his family own. And he's like, Pablo, land may get sick sometime, but it'll never die. And for me, it just resonated so well. And so now I'm thinking, if I had $1 million or even $100,000, here in Missouri, nice Class A commercial property, triple that, lease it out to a nice tenant, nice company like ours. And you know what they call that here in Springfield, Missouri? Mailbox money.
Mailbox money. It is so funny you said that. As you were talking, I was literally sitting here thinking, the best single investor I have ever known in my life, is an 89-year-old guy in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he has done one thing his entire life, and he has built buildings because he has a construction background. He has built buildings and leased them out. That's all he's done.
It's genius.
It is genius. And he doesn't even, obviously you can then turn around and sell them off at a multiple, of the cash flow that you're getting, and literally make eons of money, but he just keeps them. Yeah. And it's like, the guy has more money than anybody that I know in the world. Yeah. And it's because he just, now granted, you might hit it big in some big tech deal or whatever, or build up a company. But the problem is with the company, to really make the big bucks, you got to sell the company. Yeah. Well, nobody wants to, I don't want to sell my baby here. These are my people, and so you got to go through that excruciating experience to get the liquidity. He doesn't have to do that. He just builds leases. They're paying themselves off in 3, 4, 5 years. So crazy. Yeah. So I agree. Totally agree with that.
It's a gold mine. And the thing that I think people don't understand is that tech story, that Uber is a unicorn. It's an edge case.
Right.
That is like trying to become an astronaut or becoming president. Like that, the likelihood of that is unreal.
Yeah.
And I like to give the example of reverse engineer your life. Yeah, you have to be, let's say president of the United States. That's a great thing. You probably want it just because of the power, not the pain and the suffering.
Yeah.
Definitely not for the money. Definitely not for the money. So reverse engineer that. Like to become president, that's like a one in, I forget nowadays, I think you have a higher likelihood of winning the lottery 7 times consecutively than becoming president. It's some obnoxious statistic.
Yeah.
So let's break it down. You want to be a public servant. Start with a guarantee. What is a guarantee? You can volunteer as city council. You can volunteer, go to a small town. You can be a mayor. It's guaranteed. And build on that. Maybe go to House of Representatives. Maybe go and become a senator. Maybe go and become a governor. But you're not sitting and waiting. And so whenever I see entrepreneurs that want to come in and out the gate, give the next Uber story, who's going to pay for your bills?
Right.
Who's going to put your kids through college? Real estate is accessible to everyone. So if you have some extra passive income, do something that's achievable, attainable, and build up and off of that. At the very least, all else fails, and you start early at 21, you buy your first rental property. By 45, 50, you have a nice cushiony retirement.
Yeah.
And you're not looking back at life being that deal chaser left with nothing you stand by. All right.
I agree.
Enough real estate investment. The final topic, the topic that I personally like because it's something I kind of suffered and struggled in my life through, and that's clothing. I'm an immigrant here, so we immigrated in '99. I grew up in a very Slavic, Ukrainian traditional culture. We tucked in our shirt, wore long sleeves, and so whenever I'm coming to school and the kids are wearing the cool high tops and the skinny jeans and the designer shirt.
You look like the Undertaker. You're like the funeral guy.
Yeah, I was that weird kid. So like, all right, I'm gonna try. And I remember I worked probably 2 months cleaning homes with my mom. My mom cleaned residential properties. I remember going to Nike, the Tanger outlet, Nike and Branson, and going to the back, the clearance section, and spending, it was like $60 on $300 high top basketball shoes. I have no idea why. Back then, and it's still kind of straight, why you wear basketball shoes?
They were very popular. They were.
And I show up to school, and now I'm being picked and made fun of because they're like, "Oh, did you steal those? Did you get those at the Goodwill? Where did you get those? Who donated them to you?" And I'm just like, "Oh, I can't please people." So I'm like, I'm gonna find out what successful people wear, what wealthy people wear. I'm gonna do what wealthy people do. So I start researching online and asking friends, and one of my friends was childhood friend of a billionaire. So his best friend dad was a billionaire, and I'm like, "What does your friend's dad wear? He's a billionaire. He's the billionaire here at Springfield. What does he wear?" And I find that's what I was already wearing. Simple clothing. And so I go back and I'm like, all right, for the rest of my life, I'm just gonna wear what I feel comfortable in. To this day, nice khakis with golf pants, comfortable shoes, tucked in shirt. I feel comfortable. I feel natural in it. Yeah, if I'm going to the beach or somewhere else, I'll wear shorts and things of that nature. What is your take on clothing, and how do you dress up or dress down?
First of all, I've done a lot of podcast interviews, okay? And this is the most wide-ranging podcast I've ever been on in my life, first of all. Kudos. Amazing. I can think of a couple of friends of mine who are highly successful, okay? And they're both at the point in their life where it's almost a power play that they don't dress up. Yeah. Okay, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like they don't have to. Yeah. I mean, one of them was on my board at the bank and would wear like soccer gear, like to the bank board meeting. I'm like, man, he just didn't care. He's like, man, I'm at a point. So I'm similar to you. I'm kind of about what do I want to wear. I have a business partner who is EY National Entrepreneur of the Year. We've talked about him before, who wears jeans and Hokas and a DLP polo shirt every day. Wow. Okay. That's all the cat wears. I mean, I did see him wear a long sleeve long sleeve shirt one time. So, when you get, there's a level that you get to that you're like, I don't care. You have so much respect that people are like, hey, wear whatever you want to wear. You've earned it. I am more of a, what is kind of respectful. So in my role, so if you're a bank CEO and I show up looking raggedy, it's almost like it's really less about me and more about my respect for the person that I am meeting with because of that role. If I ran a manufacturing company where you're making stuff, polo shirt, money in the bank, there would be no reason to do the coat and all that action. But I just feel like I don't want people thinking that I am disrespecting them. Having said that, man, I'm with you. I'm about comfort. It's about what makes you feel good. And here's my only tip. Okay. And this one is money in the bank. This right here will make this whole episode. You ready?
Yes, sir.
And that is tailor your clothes. Everybody, listen to me. If you go get a suit or slacks or pants or whatever, get them altered to where they fit your body.
Yes.
Okay. That's the name of the game. I use this, it's called Tom James. I use this custom clothing. It's not that much more than a normal jacket would be, but they measure you up and they can tailor stuff to a perfect fit.
Yes.
And that to me makes 10 times more sense than going and buying a $10,000 suit when a $500 suit would work just as well. Just get it tailored to fit your body. It costs $40, go to the local tailor shop. They don't speak a lot of English, but they can figure out how to get your stuff to fit you the right way. Do that.
So good.
And don't wear socks. And don't wear socks that are quitters. Okay, that's my other. So when you're wearing dress socks, wear socks that stay up on your legs.
Yes.
That's my other. That's my only other one.
I love it.
So,
Thank you so much, Sean. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the best advice I gave is similar to what you were mentioning. Is the governor? He spoke on our podcast recently, and he said you dress up or dress in to the role that you're there. Like if you're going to the farm, don't show up wearing khakis and a tie. Whether you're a banker or a politician, you're going to visit a farm.
Yes. Yes.
Pull up the hat. You're going be relatable to it.
Yes.
If you're going to go, and read a children's book to a classroom full of kids, and you showed up overdressed, and the example I give is, especially the younger generation that we hire and employ here, is okay. I get everything that you're saying. You have a good view. It's a modern society, and you can dress whatever you want. But okay, you're on the airplane, and your pilot walks on, and he's dressed the way you're kind of convincing you to be dressed. Right?
Response.
Sure.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
What's your instant reaction?
Yeah, I like that.
I wouldn't fly with them.
Yeah. Or your doctor. Yeah. Hey, dude, come sign up. Like, I'm out. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate you coming on here and sharing this. It answers a lot of questions, especially for our younger demographics that has these questions that it's sometimes so hard to get a genuine, straight answer. So thank you for being honest.
Pleasure. Really fun. I knew it would be, but it was really, really fun.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. If you want to connect with Sean, you can go to 94x.org if you want to be a part of that. You can also Google search Faith in Business. The chapters all over the Midwest and growing. And there's even opportunities for you to open and start your own chapter. If you want to connect with me, you can just plunge into your AI bot or Google Paul Bosovic, Bosovik. I'd love to connect with you. Thank you, and God bless you.